9. Luke Hawks. 28-year-old Luke Hawks was out of jail on bail when he caught his most serious charges yet in 2022. In an effort to get home before his court-imposed curfew, he sped through a red light and crashed into another car at an intersection. 19-year-old Bethany Branson was thrown from the passenger seat of the vehicle, despite wearing a seatbelt during the crash, and she sadly died from her injuries. Hawks initially fled the scene, but returned a short while later with his mother. He allegedly became irrationally defensive and hostile, telling officers that he hoped he killed someone, and he seemed incredibly drunk, and he smelled strongly of booze. He was arrested for causing Branson's death, and the evidence presented was pretty clear-cut. The accident was captured on surveillance footage as well, which showed the victim's vehicle following traffic laws while Hawks barreled straight at it. And an investigator estimated he was driving 75 miles per hour, 121 kilometers per hour in a 30 mile per hour, 48 kilometer per hour zone. Hawks admitted to causing death by dangerous driving and was ordered to serve 10 years in prison. 8. Jose Gilberto Rodriguez. Over a week-long period in 2018, the greater Houston area was terrorized by a string of 5 violent robberies, 3 of which ended in murder. 4 victims were shot, and only 1 of them survived. Using surveillance footage, investigators quickly suspected 46-year-old Jose Gilberto Rodriguez, a parolee who had served 27 years in prison for multiple convictions, including robbery, assault, and auto theft. He was released in 2017 and had established himself as a model parolee while attending required meetings with his parole officer, passing drug tests, and holding down a steady job. That all changed when Rodriguez cut off his ankle monitoring bracelet and disappeared from the halfway house he was staying at. Law enforcement received a tampering notification, but said that there was nothing outwardly suspicious about the monitor's movement, so no red flags were raised. Teresa Williams, who owns the halfway house where Rodriguez was living at the time of the crime spree, told the Houston Chronicle that he was a hard worker who mainly kept to himself and helped out around the property. She said he went to do laundry one day but never returned. Rodriguez was taken into custody on capital murder charges after leading police on a short chase. The outcome of the case is unclear. Hopefully, justice was served. 7. Wendy Jones. In April 2021, Las Vegas police officers arrested 23-year-old Wendy Jones for allegedly stealing Rolexes worth tens of thousands of dollars from some men staying in hotel rooms along the famous strip. One victim claimed that he met Jones, who called herself Sarah, at a casino. The two drank together, and she encouraged him to keep drinking. At some point, he blacked out. He woke up in a casino valet area and was quickly taken to the hospital. The man suspected he had been drugged, and his $45,000 Rolex was missing from his wrist. Just days before, another man met an attractive woman named Sarah at a casino and invited her back to his room. At some point, he fell asleep, and when he woke up, she was gone, along with his $45,000 Rolex and iPhone. The victim told police it was unusual for him to suddenly fall asleep, making him believe he had been drugged. A few weeks before this incident, a man was visiting Vegas and met a woman calling herself Rosa at a bar. They went back to his room together and ordered drinks. Rosa insisted on him finishing his margarita. He fell asleep shortly after and was out cold until 10:30 a.m., which was unusual for him. The man also said he felt drowsy and sore and was missing his $37,000 watch and $1,500 in cash. Jones was finally busted for the thefts and was hit with 3 counts of felony grand larceny. 6. Daria Brown. A 22-year-old woman from Iowa named Daria Brown went viral in 2022 for her behavior during an arrest. Police in Iowa City encountered the young woman in a visibly upset state, hitting on a bar's windows from outside. Brown allegedly admitted to assaulting an employee And while the bar wasn't going to press charges, she was arrested for her combative behavior toward responding officers. Body cam footage showed the woman refusing to cooperate, even after being handcuffed, and kicking at the cops as they tried putting her in the back of a squad car. Brown was accused of trying to steal an officer's taser and assaulting 3 others. But after seeing a cop strike Brown repeatedly in the back during the body cam video, some people wondered if the police were too harsh on her. That wasn't the case though, according to law enforcement, who told local news station KCRG that Brown has a history of being belligerent toward police. In fact, at the time of her arrest, she was on probation for a similar incident. In 2018, she admitted to hitting a cop car and resisting arrest. She had also assaulted a hospital staff member and resisted arrest in a separate incident. The following year, she pleaded guilty to an operating while intoxicated charge and for refusing to cooperate with police. And several months before her most recent arrest, Brown allegedly tried to bite a hospital security guard and punched a staff member. She seems to have avoided news headlines since, a hopeful sign that she's straightened out. 5. Harvey Marcellin. In 2022, 68-year-old Susan Layden's dismembered torso was found in a shopping cart in Brooklyn, New York, the day after she was reported missing. 4 days later, someone found her leg in a random pile of trash on a sidewalk. Police quickly connected the crime to 83-year-old ex-con Harvey Marcellin, a transgender woman who had previously served time for killing 2 of their girlfriends. Marcellin's criminal records date back to 1957, beginning with assault and gambling charges. She was paroled in 1984 for fatally shooting someone in 1963. Then, in 1985, a year after her release, she stabbed another woman to death and dumped her body near Central Park. The serial killer was paroled in 2019, less than 3 years before Layden's murder. Social media revealed that the suspect and her latest victim had interactions online a year before the murder. Marcellin seemed infatuated with Layden, whose family and friends have said it was uncharacteristic for Susan to associate with someone with such a checkered past. Like many people, they've been left wondering how someone who killed twice was set free and given an opportunity to strike a 3rd time. Cops found the victim's severed head inside Marcellin's apartment, along with a bloody mop and an electric saws box. They uncovered surveillance footage that showed her disposing of Layden's leg, and security video also showed the victim entering, but not leaving, the suspect's apartment building. A medical examiner concluded that Layden died from blunt force trauma to the head, and determined it was a homicide. Marcellin was charged with concealment of a human corpse and second-degree murder. She pleaded not guilty, and the case seems to be ongoing. 4. Elizabeth Long. It's a situation that's become all too familiar in recent years. A delivery truck pulls away from a house, an unrecognized car pulls up a little while later, and the driver gets out and snatches the resident's packages off the front step. A 37-year-old woman from Yakima, Washington, named Elizabeth Long, was identified as one of these so-called porch pirates in 2016 after being caught in the act on a doorbell camera. At the time, Long was already wanted on a felony arrest warrant. After dealing with her criminal cases and being released from custody, she allegedly struck once again during the 2017 holiday season. And for the second time, doorbell security cameras filmed her stealing packages. As soon as police saw the footage, they immediately recognized her, according to Sergeant David Cortez, who spoke with the Yakima Herald during their latest search for Long. Cortez said that the car seen in the footage matched the vehicle they found in Long's driveway, and that they found some stolen property at her home as well. She was eventually charged with 3rd-degree possession of stolen property. 3. Simon Mellors. In 1999, Simon Mellors fatally beat and strangled his lover, 36-year-old mother of 2, Pearl Black, at their home in Nottingham, England. He was sent to prison for 14 years, but his sentence was reduced. In 2011, he was released after serving just 12 years. Black's family warned the parole board that Mellors would strike again, but they granted him freedom anyway. In 2018, he stabbed 51-year-old Janet Scott and ran her over with his car because she wanted to end their relationship. She died in the street, and Mellors tried to kill an officer who rushed to Scott's aid. He was charged with murder and attempted murder. An inquest found that his probation officer failed to keep proper records on Mellors' relationships with women after his release. Just days before committing his second murder, the ex-con himself warned probation about his stalking tendencies. By then, he had already started following Scott to her workplace and had even gotten a job with the same employer, asking to be transferred to the location where Scott worked. A mental health nurse contacted probation about Mellors' behavior out of concern for Scott's safety, but apparently nothing was ever done. There was also evidence of parole violations, which should have caught the attention of multiple law enforcement agencies and put Mellors back in prison. He decided to take his own life while awaiting trial for the murder. 2. Julianne O Farrell. A serial thief from Cork, Ireland, named Julianne O Farrell, has so many convictions under her belt that it's hard to keep track. By 2019, she had 111 previous convictions, including 26 for theft. She was even caught stealing from a nearby business during a court lunch break. She had given birth just 6 weeks earlier, but apparently becoming a mother wasn't enough to change her ways. After being arrested, O'Farrell allegedly told a cop, "I was fleecing the city for years before you ever caught me." Her defense attorney claimed his client was going through a rough time after the death of her partner. But by then, O'Farrell had demonstrated a clear pattern of behavior dating much farther back. The judge sentenced her to 10 months in prison for the lunchtime thefts, but as soon as she was released, she went right back to stealing. By early 2023, O'Farrell's ever-lengthening rap sheet had jumped to 227 convictions, including 74 for stealing. As her crimes continue, her sentences have started landing her in prison for longer terms each time. 1. Jack Heinrich. In late 2022, 33-year-old Jack D Heinrich broke into a Salvation Army chapel in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, where he piled up a few winter coats that were donated to people in need and set them on fire, causing thousands of dollars worth of property damage. NBA player Chet Holmgren donated coats to replace the ones destroyed, and Heinrich pleaded guilty to second-degree arson. He was sentenced to probation, which required him to get mental health treatment and to abstain from using guns, drugs, or alcohol. The seemingly lenient punishment came despite Heinrich's repeated arrests before and after the arson, including allegations of fighting with police, as well as theft and disorderly conduct. Just days after his sentencing, he was accused of smashing windows with beer bottles at a local pub, causing $1,000 in damages. A few weeks later, a bail charity paid $3,000 to get him released from jail. The next day, Heinrich allegedly trashed a coffee shop, causing terrified customers and employees to run for cover. Several people locked themselves in the bathrooms out of fear for their safety, and at least one person thought there was an active shooter. Heinrich left $8,000 worth of damage in this rampage, which left one employee so traumatized that she was afraid to return to work for several days. He had been kicked out of the shop earlier that day too, and returned with an apparent desire for vengeance. So far, the only jail time Heinrich has actually served has been while waiting to resolve each of his criminal cases. He faces multiple charges of felony burglary and property damage in connection to the coffee shop incident. Police Inspector Elliot Faust criticized the bail charity that helped him, telling the Star Tribune that while he understands the premise of why they do what they do, it defeats the purpose of what bail is truly meant for in the first place if someone blindly throws money at any old case. Thanks for watching. Assuming the cost was the same for each case, would you be more willing to bail out a friend with a long history of getting locked up for simple offenses, or a friend who lands behind bars on serious charges after being arrested for the first time in their whole life? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.